Hello everyone, this is RK, and I am here with the first episode of Lrn2Tank Leveling Edition, specifically covering levels 15 through 19, but really 15 through level 21. Once you ding to level 15, after having probably leveled a little bit, pretending you're a balanced druid until you got cat form, and then in cat form, at level 15 will grant you the special ability of being able to shapeshift into a bear. And with it, of course, you gain a couple of bear abilities, particularly Demoralizing Roar, which is your area of effect attack power reduction spell. Growl, which is your taunt, and Maul, which is a damage dealer that is off the global cooldown, as well as the Mangle ability, which you technically picked up at level 10, you just couldn't use it because you didn't have bear form yet. This, of course, is your normal damage dealer. Level 15, specifically 15, 16, and 17, are pretty rough for feral tanks. During this time, we don't have any AoE damage ability. The only AoE thing we have is Demoralizing Roar, and it has a very low threat gain when using. It's there is a little bit of threat, but it's not necessarily enough to force a secondary mob to stick to you, especially if the DPS in your party has split themselves and aren't focusing on one single target at a time. So this can be very frustrating, these few levels, especially adding to that the fact that at the lower levels, typically the DPS don't care that you're actually the tank. Actually, anyone technically can tank at that level so long as the healer can keep them up. So I generally find these three levels to be the most irritating. But bear with it, pun sort of intended, because there is light at the end of the tunnel. During these three levels until through level 17, there are two main methods of maintaining your threat. The first one is for single target pulls actually are extremely easy. You just simply go into it with a Mangle, Maul anytime that you can, if you're not going to rage starve yourself for Mangle, and keep going. For multi-target pulls, you're going to want to hit one target with Mangle, the next target with Maul, and then if you have a third target or even a fourth, you want to start spreading around your physical white damage attacks just to hold them, and of course do a Demo Roar in order to try to keep them to you. Once again, this is really tough to do more than two mobs during those few levels because we don't have an AoE damage ability. But it is perfectly doable. There is kind of an advanced trick that requires a little of extra micromanagement, and this means basically in order to pull, you can start off with Moonfire. So you're in caster form, you Moonfire a mob, but then you need to immediately shift into bear. Few of the things that you need to keep in mind is your distance. You want to make sure that you're in bear form before they close the distance gap in order to start beating you up. Also, because you don't have a charge, if it's a caster, you're going to have to run to it. So those are the sort of things that you kind of need to keep in mind as you're running these dungeons. Generally, if it has a mana bar, it's probably a caster, so you may need to chase it down instead. The usage of Moonfire is actually very good for single target pulls especially, but if you have a group of 3 mobs, this allows you to Moonfire the first, shift into bear, hit the second with Mangle, and the third with Maul, and then drop a Demoralizing Roar to try and hold on to them. So there are some that would argue that doing a Demo Roar right off the bat might be a little bit better because it's going to cause things to stick to you. Also keep in mind that any time that you gain rage, you also generate threat. So if you can get them and keep them on you to start with, your chances of keeping them throughout are pretty good unless you've got some BOA laden DPS. Now once you hit level 18, life becomes infinitely easier for the feral tank because we pick up the swipe ability. Swipe allows you to hit up to well, an infinite number of targets. Of course, it has diminishing damage, based on the number of targets that you hit. It has a 360-degree arc, so it will hit completely, entirely around your character. And this is an excellent, excellent way of making sure that you have all of the mobs. Now, you do have to keep in mind that between dodges and parries, you've got something like a 25-27% chance that you're not going to be able to hit these things. And that's not even including the miss chance on top of that. So you do need to pay a lot of attention to swipe and keep an eye on which ones you get dodge notices for or parry notices for. If you only get one of them out of a group, that's the target that you should select, and make sure you hit them with Mangle. If you get it with multiples, then try to maul or demo roar in order to keep them on you long enough to get another swipe off. Generally, the quote-unquote rotation that you're going to end up with, simply because you're not going to have a ton of rage, is going to be swipe, mangle, swipe, maul, swipe, maul, swipe, mangle, swipe, maul, etc. Usually just due to the fact that you're not going to have enough rage to maul on cooldown. If you do end up with enough rage to maul on cooldown, go on and do it. However, you need to make sure that you have enough rage to go into the next fight that you can actually hit the mob. And this is the case no matter what your level is. You need to make sure that you have a little bit of a rage pool. If you're using something like Skada or Omen in order to keep track of your threat, once you have a pretty good threat lead on the single mob or all of the mobs, or say there's only one mob left, just go to your white attacks. Pool your rage so that when you go into that next group, you can immediately open with swipe and mangle, possibly even a maul, in order to really hold onto those mobs. So that's really all that there is to it for the lower level stuff, and that is through level 21. At level 22 you start getting some new abilities to keep track of, and I'll go into those in another little video. So I hope this has been of a little bit of use to you, and if you have any questions, by all means please feel free to ask them. Until next time, take care.